Hi, it's Gadget UK here again. This is the follow-on video to the repair I was doing to the PC Engine here. I haven't got the chips yet, but thought what I'll do in the meantime is I may as well remove the GPU here. And just out of interest, I'm going to test it without, just to see, do we get the same behaviour without the GPU there, or is there some other reliance, on that GPU in order to get, the sound or the game to boot with Space Harrier? I'm suspecting it'll work just the same without that chip there, in terms of the music support, so that'll be interesting, an interesting test, I guess. So just been heating for about a minute here now, just preheated it originally about 150, bumped it up to 350, just for literally a minute. You can see the solder, actually, you might not be able to tell, it's about as close as I can get the camera without risking damaging the camera, but that's coming off now. I can hear some of the pins just making slight squeaking noises as they change temperature. You don't want to force this off. It should just come off when it's ready like that. Just carefully just move that around a little bit just so it doesn't stick. It might stick there actually. Be careful. It should be okay. Should be able to lift that off now, I think. So I'll get a bit of flux on there and some dissolved braid just to clean up the pads. I'll inspect the traces, because this is another interesting point actually. Someone mentioned, sorry, I'm losing my voice. Someone mentioned the idea that there could be a burnt out trace somewhere under one of these chips, and that's a good point. That might be, the fault. So the fuse has been replaced on this. That's one thing I forgot to mention. Someone in the past has previously swapped out the fuse. So, it wouldn't surprise me if there was a burnt out trace somewhere under one of these chips that we just can't see. It's unlikely. You usually get some of the signs or symptoms or something with that sort of problem. But anyway, we'll clean that up now and we'll have a look. That's about as close as I'm going to get, I think, without the camera blurring, but yeah, got some flux on there, so we'll just very carefully, just gently go over some of these pads. Might need to add a bit of solder actually, not sure yet. Oh, that's okay. Nice and slowly, because the thing you don't want to do is pull one of these pads off. If it's not at temperature and you're dragging this along, you could end up pulling the pad off. And in fact, sometimes I think it's safer actually to go probably in that direction, like that, because you've got more support on the board in terms of the way the pads are adhered to the board than in the other direction. But it really is just a case of just taking your time. The worst thing you can do is just move too quickly. You certainly don't want to apply too much heat. Just for this, I'm using a very low wattage iron, so I don't necessarily need to worry too much about this iron not being temperature controlled. But if you've got a higher wattage iron, that's something you need to pay attention to, because too much heat on small pads like this will end up, it'll lift the glue or whatever it is that joins it to the board, will lose its connection. Yeah, it's looking pretty good that already actually. I've got most of the solder off there now. Let's just have a couple of quick light passes like this. Hopefully you can still see that. Just another pass this direction and we'll clean it up with some IPA and cotton buds. So I've got the good old cotton bud here now, and it's a similar thing. You're probably better off going in that direction just gently, rather than the other direction, because you could easily, it's easier to pull the pad off, trace off. This is about, all about patience and get going really slowly and gently. The last thing you want to do is snag a sharp edge or a piece of a trace or pad, particle of solder, and then pull it with a cotton bud, because that's where you'll damage it. But the nice thing is, once you get all this off, it should look really nice and clean, and you can then inspect it for damage and stuff as well. Most of that's come off now. The flux is the thing that makes this bit difficult to start with, because the cotton bud sticks to the flux, but you'll know after you've gone around it a few times like this whether there are any sharp edges. You'll start to get a feel for how much force you can put on and stuff. Interesting things, you can see there's like a blob of solder there that's out of place on a little pad. It's been like that since I got it. I've wondered, because there's a couple of those in different places. I wonder where that came from. Yeah, that's really clean now, actually. I'm going to get rid of that bit of solder there with some desolder braid in a minute, just because it's annoying me. It looks a mess, it shouldn't be there. I don't know whether it's from someone who's been previously tinkering with this board, or whether it's like that from manufacturer or what. Same one, there's one there actually as well, you might not be able to see it. I'll do the same with that. That's not too bad. So there you go, a quick look with Super Macro. You can see, hopefully that's looking pretty tidy, and you can see where I removed the solder off that pad there. That I don't know how the hell it got there, and it was the same on the one down here. So yeah, that's looking super clean. I'll inspect it with a magnifying glass just to make sure there's no broken traces or anything there, but I can't see how there would be. And just out of interest, I'll connect this up now and we'll just try it without the GPU just to see how it behaves. So as you can see, even without a GPU, or as you can hear, you don't get a display, obviously, because there's no video outputs whatsoever, but you still get the same thing where you can hear the music, despite there being no GPU on there. So yeah, it might not be the GPU, but I think if there was more, I think you'd get different behaviour if there was more of reliance on the GPU than there actually seems to be, in order to get the sound working, at least anyway, on this particular game. And it's probably a case of, the CPU's booting there, and the first thing it's doing is starting the music playing, then it's going over to do some initialisation of the GPU, load sprites, etc. At which point, like I say, it's not getting some expected response. The other thing I do when I've removed a chip like this, if I'm not 100% certain whether it's faulty, I'll clean it up very carefully with some flux on the desolder braid, and just very gently drag it across the bottom pins like this. Just clean them up so they've got nice flat. You can see those two rows there have been done. They're nice and flat, so reapplying that. There's a bit of solder there actually on that corner I could do with just removing. It's not easy this way around actually, I might be better off doing it that way, like that. Ow, that's hot. Yeah, so it's easy to mount this again if I need to. You're just going to be careful you don't bend any of the pins. I mean, the way it was taken off there should mean that they're all just totally flat. There shouldn't be any out of place, but it is worth inspecting them with the magnifier as well. Just cut that solder braid down a bit. And the key is just not really putting any pressure on, really, just enough to hold the solder braid on there to absorb any of the solder. You'd be surprised how much solder comes off the pins when you do this actually. So there you go, it's a Super Macro. The underneath of the package just needs a bit of ice pop, just a gentle wipe. But as you can see, the pins are all nice and clean and tidy. I just had a gentle brush with some isopropyl on the top side as well, just to clean up the top side. But yeah, I'll stick that into an ESD bag now, just in case. Well, the chips are here, so let's take a look. there you go, that's the company I bought them from, Game Doctor HK. I'll post some links in the description. I'm not sure if these have any cardboard or anything around them. I'm amazed, really. They're just floating like that, but still they look alright. You can clean them up, you know, tidy them up if they need. But like vacuum sealed or something. Can you see that? It's like all the air's been sucked out of them. Yeah, that might be the deliberate actually, just to help strengthen. You know, the way the plastic hugs the chip. So we've got HU-C6260, that's the GPU, and the HU-C6270. So we'll get the GPU in there now. So it's not too bad that in terms of the pins. There's just a pin here that just needs moving across a little bit like that, I think. But in general, they aren't that bad. This is the point really where you need to use, like, put it on a really flat surface, just use a flat tool and just go around it and just check that everything is as flat as it can be. You can do that sort of thing when it's on the board, but I prefer to do it off the board if I'm honest. But it should be hopefully pretty straightforward to just solder this on and test it. Hope it works. So I've just positioned the chip there now. It's just a case of moving it around, fine adjusting it with something like this, I think, until we get it approximately in the right area. They can be a bit fiddly to get in place, these types of chips, sometimes. Yeah, so let's say inspect with the magnifying glass, and then I just need to tack one corner. Yeah, that's pretty damn close now actually. I'm not going to get better than that, I don't think. So what I'm going to try and do here is try and avoid touching the chip at all and just float some solder onto that pin. Let's try the trace. There we go. So I barely touched the chip, so it should still be in place, just need to inspect. Yeah, and obviously make sure you get it the right way up, but that's okay. So I think what I'll do is just rotate it slightly here, and we'll tack one of the pins up here as well. That's it, not bothered about getting too much solder on there, joining pins up, etc. So I think now we've done that, I can perhaps do this. I'll do this whole side here. We'll just get some flux on there. Could do with getting a new tube of flux out, I think, actually. Got a little bit of flux on there now. So, yeah, I'm not sure how easy this is going to be for you to see. I mean, I've shown this before as well, anyway, recently on some of the Super Nintendo carts I've done. Just need to get some solder onto there, press it down, and then either dab in and out like that, or drag that way, like that. Sometimes the dabbing works better. Yeah, I need some more flux on there, definitely. Try it with a bit more flux. Yeah, I'm not too worried about that. Clean that up in a minute. The real thing here is getting enough flux on there to make sure that it's as easy as possible. I will go and get another tube of flux in a minute, because there's barely anything left in this tube. It's not too bad. So rotate it that way. More solder. I'm almost out of solder actually. I need to get some more solder. God, that's not going to be easy. Let's try and do it this way. Yeah, got plenty of there. Way too much. Sometimes you can find that you get that happening when the type of solder that's been used to remove the chip is like lead free. It's got that kind of look to it, if I'm honest. So maybe the pins of the chip needed a bit more cleaning first. Yeah, right, let me get some more fresh flux. Here we go, so I've got a fresh tube of flux here now, so should make this, yeah, a lot easier. We might need to remove some of that with some desolder braid, I think. Let's just clean the tip up. Certainly got a load there that needs removing. That's almost okay. No, it's not too bad actually. I can inspect that in a minute and perhaps give it another reflow if need be, but we'll just do this side now. So not too bad there. The flux obviously needs cleaning up, but right now I think what I want to do is just inspect closely using my magnifier and make sure I've not got any shorts, make sure I've not got any loose particles of solder anywhere, and then we'll go and plug it in and just see what happens. Well, as you can see here, it's almost the same in terms of a white screen. You switch it on though, in fact, it's a white screen. So with Space Harry there, you can see we just get the same thing, black screen with music. So it would appear that the CPU or the I/O sound chip, I'm hoping it is the CPU because that's the one obviously I've got spare for. So I'll get that CPU off there. I don't understand why there's a delay there with the sync either. That's just makes me think that that graphics chip is not perfect. The 6260 that I've just fitted. It's yeah, questionable origin, I think, at this stage. Until I see a picture at least, anyway. CPU removed now. Just get the new one out of the bag here. Well, say new one, it's a reclaimed one. Let's hope this one works okay. I'm wondering if I'm going to need to swap that GPU back over actually, because despite it not, well, apparently not being the GPU, unless the GPU's got the same fault as the other one, when you do get a white screen up, it's kind of, there's like a bit, just a hint of noise or something there. It's not a very clean signal at all, which makes me think that chip is not a great chip. It's important to know that when you do something like this, you let these cool down as well. Don't just test it when it's still hot, the board's hot, the chip's hot, because the temperature of the junction gates and things inside it are going to be affected, and you could actually kill the chip just because it's too hot internally. So yeah, we'll line this one up, similar thing, tacky corner. I'm not going to show you it, there's just no point, and then do some drag soldering. I can still clean this one up a little bit later. I've checked the continuity there, there's no shorts and things, I've got some good connections. It perhaps just needs levelling off with a little bit more flux. Well, this is a pain in the fucking arse, if I'm completely honest here. Powered on now, space area, as you'll hear. Sounds okay, screen's fucked. You can move the cursor around, you can start it. That's fine. The game is actually working, it's just the GPU stuff. So, yeah, looks like we've got a faulty GPU. That GPU they sent me is faulty GPU, and it looks like the fault was the CPU, which is interesting. Put a new game in, Operation Wolf here, switch it on. Previously this wouldn't load at all, as you can hear, music. Title screen there, although the sprites are not right. Same thing, you can start it, just fucked. So I think before I do anything else, I'm going to put the old GPU back on, and then I might swap out the VRAM. Yeah, I'm going to put the original GPU back on, and then maybe consider swapping these out. I want to do that anyway because now I've got some. It's not the problem is not the CPU. There's a chance the original GPU is okay. If we get the same thing with the other GPU. Maybe we've got a problem with a new CPU. I don't know, but I might just swap the original VRAMs back. I think these are brand new chips. These should work. There's no problems there at all. I guess the only other thing is maybe a fault with the the 6280 here. I'm not sure. I think that because the white background was like noisy. There's like some interpolation or something going on there before I swapped out the CPU. So I think this is one of the risks you take when you buy second-hand chips and things off people. You don't really know whether they genuinely work or not. So this is the situation I'm in now. I've put the original SRAMs back on, that's not made a difference, I'll show you. Graphics are all over the place, but obviously it's doing more. I can start the game, for example, here, and aside from the graphics being all over the place, the sound's still good, and we do have some control. You can hear fire away there, and I can die. So I think it is just a graphical thing. Now there are a few things to point out here. There's lots of, I'll just turn it off. There's lots of conflicting information out there. There's lots of guides I've seen that suggest that the 6270 is the CPU. It's not. I'm damn sure it's not, because it's connected to the VRAM. And I don't think anything else is. This is actually the GPU. This is where things get confusing, because if you look at this other diagram here, the 6260, you've got some of the, I think this is for the RGB out, basically, the output, video and stuff. In fact, you can see some of the video signals here, composite, red, green, blue, and sync. So, yeah, the 6260 is the GPU, but the CPU actually connects to the VRAM, which is interesting. Whether it spoon feeds the GPU on one of these buses, I think it probably does, this video out bus here. But bear in mind we've swapped the 6270, that was the second chip. Originally I swapped the 6260. I don't think the 6260 they've sent me is any good. It works. It gives the same graphical problems we've got now with the original 6261. But I don't think that is the problem, because both of them give the same graphical issues. The replacement they've given me has got some noise on there, and I might be able to show that in a later video or something. I might have captured some of that footage, I don't know. But yeah, I've been going through the address buses and data buses on both of these chips here, because I've got no other alternative now. I've got to go out with a logic probe or get the logic analyzer on turn. The logic analyzer is not going to help me, I don't think. Because I don't understand much about the memory map of this system and exactly the intrinsics of how it works. So, but going through the address and data bus here and how it connects to the SRAM, I've checked that as well. That's where I started, actually, just checking on the SRAM. And I noticed that one of the address bits, I think it was A14, was stuck low. And I found the same thing, actually. Just I've tested continuity here between the 6270 and the VRAM there. And these two pins, 75 and 76, which are MA14 and MA15, are stuck low. Now the interesting thing is, and I'll show you this now, if you influence them by showing them to one of the nearby address lines, it improves the graphics. And this is a clue, I think. If I point you at the screen here now, it's a pain in the arse this, I'm pissed off with this company, because clearly they're not testing these chips. I took sufficient ESD protection, precautions and things when I fitted the chip and handled the chip. So it's definitely not some damage I've done, and I used minimal amount of temperature for a very short period of time actually to get these chips on there. But if I now just find pin 75, just bear with me a sec. Right, that's pin 75 stuck low. If I short that to a nearby trace, just watch. Can you see, if I leave it like that, the graphics look shit. If you just short it, can you see some of the sprites actually come back? You know, they look as they're supposed to. It's probably not a very good example. Let me just try it again. Yeah, it might look better on the title screen. Let me just get the title screen up. See there, look at that. That R, it's almost normal. And that's from feeding a temporary positive pulse, from one of the other pins nearby into, I think it's A15. A14's not doing very much, but I think those two pins, those two bits being stuck low, are the problem here. I think it's addressing the VRAM incorrectly. I think that's, and you can see it's intermittent as you leave it. Look, so it's flickering around like mad there. Like maybe it's trying to drive that pin, but maybe I should get the scope onto it just to check it. But yeah, if I hold, short it to positive pulse for a bit, it starts to look a lot better. So I think I'm going to contact them and say, look, I don't think the 6270 you sent me works. I'm seeing stuck bits. But before I do that, I'm going to tear down my other PC engine, load the same game, and I want to do a comparison. I want to see do bits A14 and A15 actually show any signs of life on this game when it's run through that demo there. So I think this is conclusive. You can see the game working there, and I'll just point you down here. Hopefully you'll be able to see this. I'll just tilt it slightly. If I point to pin 75, that's pin 75. I don't know whether that's going to come out on the camera or not. So I've just had to change the angle here. I'll just connect to pin 75. Can you see it's pulsing? We've got like a low pulse on the title screen. And I'll try and show you this, just wait a minute. Right, it's going into the demo. Graphics on screen, see the high. This is A15, pointing at the screen. Hopefully you can see we've got some, gameplay there. So yeah, there's a problem with A15 and A14, I think. And you can see the same thing a bit more clearly here. If I probe pin 1, that's one of those address lines, and pin 2, that's the other. So we've got, pulsing, toggling between high and low. So where does this leave me? Well, the board is in a pretty good state actually at the moment. We've got the original VRAM, SRAM chips here for the video. The processor that connects to the video, the 6270 here, that's what I've ordered another replacement of, and I've contacted the seller and asked them if they can send a replacement, because there are 2 bits stuck on there, and I did take ESD protection while I fitted this, so should be no issues there. And then this chip I've got a spare of, and they both seem to be the same, although one gives a bit of a fuzzier display. So yeah, I've not got a high level of confidence in the 2 chips they sent me, because both of them have got issues. But this one obviously is able to do more than the original one that was on there. I've got some graphics and things up, and I can actually start the game, etc., and hear sound effects. So I guess we've learned something, that I think the problem is here, because as I showed, these first 2 pins here, pin 1, pin 2, are not being addressed correctly. Anyway, I'll do an update when I get another spare chip. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.